This next story is by far my favorite story of the day. Two Buddhist monks living the classic Buddhist life, which is, detached and peaceful, away from all the things that, might arouse the passions. The picture that you have in your mind whenever you think of Buddhists of, like, there's a serene river flowing by and a beautiful design of, like, rocks, like a rock garden, and then there's somebody sitting there just in deep, deep meditation. It's those kind of Buddhists is what we're talking about here. And this is in Cambodia, and we just learned that two of these Buddhists were arrested for smoking meth. Quote, the International Business Times reported that 19-year-old Chan Bunna and 36-year-old Pich David, both monks at a Buddhist commune in Siem Reap, were arrested separately for meth. In particular, David's room contained condoms, alcohol, and a meth pipe. Oh, that is scrumdiddlyumptious. Now, why do I love this story so much? Well, I love it because I think there's a deeper message here. Because for those of you who know anything about the Buddhist philosophy, it's basically this idea that human beings should rid themselves of all external wants. And it's this idea that pleasure inevitably leads to pain. They're two sides of the same coin. So what actually makes the most sense is this state that's above that state. It's this detached, blissful state where you control your own happiness and you can remain empty and flowing through life. And it's the idea that you shouldn't get too caught up in external pleasures like sex or food or hobbies and whatnot. And they want you to live the spiritual life and the holy life where you find meaning through the Buddhist philosophy of, be above that all. Be this holy person who's pure and who can find happiness within. I mean, that's what meditation is. You sit there and you clear your mind and you clear your body and you get to this state that's totally detached but totally blissful or joyful, right? Now, from this story, I might be a dick for extrapolating it way beyond the confines of what the story is showing here, but I think this kind of shows that that's not possible. And understand something, man. You guys know me. I'm an agnostic atheist. I'm an anti-theist. I think religion is stupid. But that doesn't mean that there's not a hierarchy of religions and some make less sense and some make more sense, like Scientology is one of the dumbest, Mormonism is one of the dumbest. And then you have something like Buddhism, which makes a lot more sense because at least they're trying. At least it's like, let's come up with some sort of a coherent philosophy and advocate that. But I don't think it's possible. The Buddhist ideal, I think, is totally anti-human nature. I mean, look, yes, there's a lot to human beings that we can control via our nurture and we pick up from our environment, right? That we could override and we can change things and make decisions. But there's also a gigantic part of us that's kind of hardwired into us, whether it's our DNA, our genetics, it's our biology, it's our physiology, and it's that we can't escape. And to me, if you actually abide by Buddhist philosophy, it's almost like you're saying, I will overcome the part of me that is natural. Like sexual urges, for example, to try to override that or overcome that and just be, I'm going to be totally detached and I will never get horny again. Bullshit. By 7 o'clock tonight, you'll be horny. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? This is the reality of life. So I often have said on the show that my philosophy is basically the exact opposite of Buddhism in this sense. I think it's a fantastic thing when you have external pleasures and external things that make you happy. And I'm not talking about pure consumerism or materialism and you want to go out and buy a Maserati and a yacht and a mansion and, that'll make you feel fulfilled. No, that's not what I'm talking about at all. But I am talking about understanding what you are as a human being and getting to peace with those things. Be at peace with your sex drive, for example. Be at peace with the fact that you have hobbies that you fucking love and you don't want to go a week without doing some of those hobbies, man. And I want you to take that hobby and make it your life. I want you to take something that you genuinely enjoy and make it your everything. So you wake up in the morning and you're fucking excited to get up and you're excited to do whatever the fuck it is that your hobby is. If you take the example of like a professional athlete, what do you think when LeBron James gets up in the morning, he's not motivated, he doesn't have a purpose, he doesn't have meaning, he doesn't have fulfillment through doing his job? Of course he does. I want you to do that with your life. And look, along the road, if you accept that philosophy, of course you can engage in pleasures like fornication and drugs and whatnot. I mean, alcohol is legal. So many people drink alcohol. Caffeine is legal. All of America's hooked on caffeine. We all want fucking caffeine IVs. This idea that you need to stay away from that. It doesn't work. It never works. And here's a great example of it, because Buddhists who have committed to the opposite ideology, they got a little hit of meth and they're like, oh my God, this is so much better than the bullshit I've been doing. Somebody get me more meth and some condoms and I'm going to go bone everything in town. Now, I know, again, I'm being a dick because it's not like everybody in the monastery is doing it. There were just these two guys, at least in the story. But I will say, I know somebody, I won't tell you what his name is, or actually his profession, because I don't want to blow his spot, but this was a guy who, when he was younger, he was kind of curious about the Buddhist philosophy, so he actually went and lived in that circumstance, in that situation for a while. And one of the things he told me when we were talking about it, because I was like, why would you do that? Like, you really thought there was some sort of wisdom or something to be learned? He was like, yeah, but you know what I learned? They're all fucking each other. I was like, what? Whoa, dude. He's like, no, yeah, you don't get it. Like, they seem like they're all, totally appeased, doing meditation all day long, this and that. Yeah, they're busting nuts nonstop from each other. And if they look at peace, that's why they're at peace. They fuck like 4 times a day, and then they're out there meditating the rest of the time. Like, okay, that makes a lot more sense, because they're not, you can only fight your nature for so long. So again, what is this showing? What is this proving? Even the people who try their hardest to rise above the human condition and be detached and to not care about external stimuli, you can't do it. So you might as well give into it. There's a great old saying, I forgot who originally came up with it, but the best way to defeat temptation is to give into it. Yes, that's my philosophy. I call it passionism. Whatever your passion is outside of you, track that thing down, beat it with the fucking stick, okay? Make that thing yours and live life that way. It's the opposite of the Buddhist philosophy, and I think the Buddhists are kind of admitting here that even they like the opposite of the Buddhist philosophy.